The people who shout the loudest about freedom are often the ones who sell you the heaviest chains. You may have noticed that. The system dangles the carrot of liberation while fastening the shackles around your ankles. You feel it, don't you? That nagging sense that something's not right. Your phone buzzes. Another notification, another sale, another chance to be free through consumption. We're told we have infinite choices, but have you ever wondered why they all somehow feel the same? Welcome to the grand illusion, the greatest sleight of hand in human history. Today we're ripping away the veil on how capitalism sells you freedom while systematically dismantling it. And trust me, once you see it, you can never unsee it. There's a reason why you feel exhausted all the time. Why, despite working harder than your parents did, you have less to show for it. Why you're told that unlimited potential lies within your reach, if only you'd hustle a little more, sacrifice a little more, consume a little more. Let's start with a simple question. What is freedom? Is it the ability to choose between 37 varieties of breakfast cereal? Is it the option to work 60 hours a week instead of 40? Is it the privilege of going into debt for an education that was once affordable? As Rousseau once said, man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Only today those chains are disguised as choices, opportunities, and dreams. The first great deception of capitalist freedom is the illusion of consumer choice. Walk into any supermarket and you'll find yourself surrounded by what appears to be endless variety, a cornucopia of options stretching into infinity. But zoom out, and you'll notice something strange. This dazzling array of products comes from just a handful of parent companies. 10 corporations control almost everything you consume, from the food you eat to the media you absorb, from the clothes you wear to the technology you depend on. The appearance of choice masks a reality of consolidation. When you pick up that smartphone, marketed as the ultimate tool of personal freedom, you're actually entering a carefully designed ecosystem that dictates how you interact with the world. The average American checks their phone 344 times per day. Does that sound like freedom to you or addiction? And here's where it gets insidious. We've been trained to equate purchasing power with liberty, to believe that freedom means unfettered access to markets, that being a consumer is the same as being a citizen. As Oscar Wilde put it, in this age, man knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. We've been sold a definition of freedom that benefits those who profit from our consumption. The second great deception is the myth of meritocracy, that hard work alone determines success, that in a free market, cream rises to the top, talent is recognized, and effort is rewarded. Have you ever wondered why, despite working harder and being more productive than ever before, real wages have stagnated for decades? Why the gap between the ultra-wealthy and everyone else continues to widen at an alarming rate? Look at these numbers. Since 1978, CEO compensation has grown 1,167%, while typical worker compensation has risen just 13.7%. This isn't because CEOs suddenly became 1,000% more talented. It's because the system is designed to concentrate wealth and power. Your freedom is constrained by the economic reality you're born into. Your choices limited by the resources at your disposal. Your autonomy determined by your ability to generate profit, either for yourself or, more likely, for someone else. As Noam Chomsky observed, that's the standard technique of privatization. Defund, make sure things don't work, people get angry, you hand it over to private capital. The third deception is perhaps the most painful, the illusion of time freedom. We're told that capitalism liberates us from drudgery, that technology saves time, that prosperity buys leisure. Yet here we are, working longer hours than medieval peasants. Did you know that a serf in the Middle Ages typically worked around 150 days a year? Compare that to your 240-plus working days, not including the unpaid digital labor you perform every time you check an email after hours. The smartphone in your pocket has made you perpetually available. The line between work and life has been systematically erased. You're expected to be productive, optimized, and efficient at all times. But here's the truth. They don't want you to confront. Your time is not your own. It belongs to employers who demand more with less, to platforms that monetize your attention, to corporations that extract value from your every waking moment. The capitalist achievement, wrote Schumpeter, does not consist in providing more silk stockings for queens, but in bringing them within the reach of factory girls. But what if those factory girls are working so hard to afford silk stockings that they have no time to wear them? The fourth deception is the propaganda of individual responsibility. We're told that our failures are personal, not systemic, that poverty is a choice, not a condition, that environmental collapse is about consumer decisions, not corporate malfeasance. This myth serves a crucial purpose. It shifts blame from structures to individuals. It transforms systemic problems into personal shortcomings. It tells you that if you're struggling, it's because you're not competitive enough, not productive enough, not entrepreneurial enough. Have you noticed how we've been trained to internalize market logic? To see ourselves as brands, our relationships as networks, our passions as side hustles? To turn every aspect of our lives into something that can be optimized, monetized, and sold? As Mark Fisher wrote, "It's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism." We've become so entangled in the system that we struggle to envision alternatives. The fifth deception is perhaps the most cunning, the commodification of resistance itself. Even anti-capitalist sentiment has been turned into a marketable aesthetic. You can buy revolution-themed t-shirts made in sweatshops. You can stream anti-establishment music owned by multinational corporations. You can purchase books about minimalism from Amazon. Our discontent has been packaged and sold back to us, our rebellion channeled into consumption, our rage defanged and declawed until it poses no threat to the powers that be. So where does this leave us? Are we trapped in a system that inoculates itself against criticism by absorbing it? Is there no escape from the freedom paradox of capitalism? Maybe not, but awareness is the first step toward liberation. Understanding the mechanics of the cage is essential to finding the door. Real freedom isn't found in consumption. It's not measured by purchasing power or expressed through brand loyalty. It exists in the spaces between transactions, in the moments that haven't yet been monetized, in the aspects of human experience that resist commodification. As Herbert Marcuse wrote, "Free election of masters does not abolish the masters or the slaves." True freedom requires us to question not just who holds power, but how power itself is structured and distributed. Let me tell you something that the algorithm definitely doesn't want you to hear. Your worth is not determined by your productivity. Your value as a human being is not contingent on your economic output. You are not a resource to be optimized, a market to be tapped, or a demographic to be targeted. The system depends on your belief that there's no alternative, that capitalism, for all its flaws, is the only viable way to organize human society. That freedom can only be understood in market terms. But throughout history, people have imagined and created different ways of living, working, and relating to one another. They've built communities based on cooperation rather than competition, on mutual aid rather than market exchange. These alternatives exist not just in theory, but in practice, in worker cooperatives, in community land trusts, in time banks and mutual aid networks, in the commons both digital and physical that people are creating and protecting. The philosopher Slavoj Žižek reminds us that freedom is not something given, it's something you take. Perhaps real freedom begins with the recognition that the freedom sold to us by capitalism is no freedom at all. So what do we do with this knowledge? How do we reclaim authentic freedom in a world that constantly conflates it with consumer choice? First, we need to decolonize our imaginations, to break free from the mental constraints that limit our ability to envision alternatives. To recognize that there is no alternative is itself the most effective piece of propaganda ever devised. Second, we need to rebuild our capacity for collective action. Capitalism atomizes us, isolates us, pits us against one another. But true freedom has always been won through solidarity, through the recognition that my liberation is bound up with yours. And finally, we need to reclaim the meaning of freedom itself, to insist that freedom is more than the absence of external constraint, that it includes the positive capacity to shape our lives, our communities, and our futures. Remember what I said at the beginning about the grand illusion? The freedom that capitalism sells is like a mirage in the desert, always on the horizon, never within reach. It promises liberation while tightening the bonds of necessity. But here's what they don't want you to know. You already possess everything you need for real freedom, not as a consumer, but as a human being with intrinsic worth and boundless potential. Not as an isolated individual, but as part of a community capable of extraordinary things. Spinoza wrote that freedom is not the right to live as we please, but the power to live as we ought. Perhaps it's time to ask ourselves, how ought we to live? What kind of freedom do we truly desire? And what are we willing to do to achieve it? The choice, ironically, is yours. You can continue chasing the freedom that capitalism dangles before you like a carrot on a stick. Or you can begin the difficult but necessary work of creating authentic freedom for yourself and for others. Because in the end, the greatest act of rebellion against a system that commodifies everything is to remember that some things, like genuine human connection, like solidarity, like freedom itself, simply cannot be bought or sold. They can only be lived. Thanks for watching.